Good day, everyone. This thank you for having me here today and being able to discuss with you guys an idea or having 5 ideas on how to work with your buyers effectively.
Now, the second idea, build a relationship first before your buyer. Build a relationship first with your buyer before you get them to sign a buyer's agency agreement. That's the best thing to do. Why? Because some people, they want to be compliant and they're like, oh, here, buyer's agency agreement, please sign it. And you don't have a relationship with the person. It's like, what? You're tying me in? Excuse me? You want to make sure that you have credibility, you have trust, and you have the likability factor already there so that when they do sign the buyer's agency agreement, they feel good about it. As a matter of fact, I get clients sometimes like, well, where's the buyer's agency agreement? I want to sign it. I'm like, okay, sure, here's a buyer's agency agreement. Relax, it's okay. You're still working with me. So that's very, very important. Buyer's agency agreement helps you with the tie-in. Now, some people ask me like, oh, is it enforceable? Sure, it's enforceable, but would you want to? It's up to you. I mean, you want to have a reputation out there? Depends on what kind of reputation you want, you know? If you're going to have a buyer's agency agreement, make sure that whoever's signing is as good as what that buyer agency agreement is, because, you know, if you force somebody and shove it in their throat, basically, don't expect that there won't be retaliation. There won't be bad-mouthing somewhere with your reputation, right? To me, the only thing we really have in our business is your reputation. If you have no reputation, nobody would want to buy or sell a house with you. So to me, it's very important that every single person that you deal with, you have a good relationship with. And that once you don't have a good relationship and you tried and it doesn't work, give it to other agents that you may not have a good relationship with. Then it's a win-win scenario. You get a referral fee, and that person that doesn't like you, the agent doesn't like, all of a sudden likes you because you refer them a client, right? And the client that you don't like to begin with, actually you don't have to deal with anymore. You're still making money. Just a thought. I've done that before. You don't have to work with every single person out there. See, the biggest problem most people have is not the fact that they don't like buyers or they don't like certain people, right? It's the fact that they don't have enough clients. See, if you have 50 clients, you're flying 50,000 feet above ground and all the problems are small. Think about it. If you sell 10, 15 houses every single month, right? One buyer is not going to kill you. But if you only have one buyer for that whole month, right? The buyer is going to kill you emotionally. So try to understand. Focus on your processes that builds a certain amount of clientele that you're working with, so that when you have a situation when a buyer is not somebody you want to work with, you can turn it down and say, you know what? I passed. But that's what people miss. People are focused on one buyer, and then that's what they're hoping for, that buyer is going to actually take them to the next level. No. Focus on your process. Be consistent on your phone calls. Be consistent on your activities. Be consistent on actually showing up to certain places so you can build more clientele. Create ways to build and create buyers out of nothing. Because I just explained to you, any person can be a buyer. You know, it's like if you can fog a mirror, you can buy a house, practically, in that sense. I mean, unless you're under 18 and you can't get a loan. But even with people with bad credit can get a loan. I had a client that started at 420. I got him to 720. It took 3 years. That's how patient I am. Very patient. Took 3 years. Okay? But 3 years later, he's got 720. She bought a house. And then 5 years later, she decided to sell the house. Guess who she came up to? Me. Sold the house. And before that, basically, she was married to her husband, and they bought a house together. That's how I knew her. But when she came up to me, she had 420 credit score. And I mean, most people are like, I say, no, I'm not going to waste my time with that person. No, it's not a waste for me. Because I look at that person as a human being that has an ability to purchase, but more importantly, she's a friend. That's how I look at it. And what do you do with your friends? You help them, right? So I helped her going all the way through to the point that she could buy a home. That took 3 years. Fine. I can wait. Shoot. That's the problem a lot of us have, because we've been programmed as a child growing up to have instant gratification. Right? I was the same way until I turned like 28, 29, and I met my mentor, and my mentor told me like, deal with everybody, keep going, and you will grow your business naturally if you focus on that relationship, on each and every relationship. You don't judge people based on their credit report. You don't judge a person based on what they can purchase and not purchase. You don't judge a person based on their career or no career or whatever it is their situation is. You don't judge a person because it's not for you to judge. You are here to help. And if you have that mindset and you have that mentality, your success rate in this business shoots up. Some people get lucky and they get this marketing tool and getting all these leads, and great, that's fine. But if you don't have the personality, I guarantee you no marketing tool will ever work for you. If your intentions are always focused on money, nothing will help you. But if your focus is here to really help other people, your probability of success is 90, 100% practically. Why? Because people would love to work with people that care about them. That's why. So, before asking for a buyer's agency agreement or getting them to sign one, make sure your relationship is very strong, because that agreement is only as good as the people working on it. And if the other person don't like you, I don't care what that agreement says, they're going to fight you tooth and nails and you go nowhere. And your reputation is ruined to go along with it. So the third idea is already start probing around for potential referrals while you are working with your buyer. We don't do enough of this. Why? Because we're focused on just getting them a home. But you can always ask them who they know, what's going on with their family, as you're showing them houses. Of course, during COVID, a lot of times we take separate cars. But before COVID, this was very effective because, they're stuck in your car. So I take usually a van when I show houses around, and I get my clients in my van so then they can't jump out. I have a natural audience and I actually can say whatever I want nicely. Nice things, of course. So I can connect with those people. And the fourth idea is always obtain a survey from your buyer at settlement. This is your like litmus test if you did a great job. A lot of times when I go to settlement, I ask my buyer, how did I do? And it's the best time to do it. Why? Because they're so happy they're at settlement, especially if they went through the ringer on the loan side and you're there making it happen, trying to get to the closing. You're at settlement, you're closing everything. So you give them a survey and get as much as you can and get them ask them to actually give you a good review on the spot before they leave the settlement. I hardly see anybody do this, but guess what? It's most effective. Why? Because a person is just getting their house, so they're so happy it's over. They've gone through, submitted all their documents, they've gone through home inspection, they've gone through all this stuff, and now they're going to the settlement table. They did the walkthrough, they're happy with the property, they're happy with you. It's the best time to get a survey. Hey, how did I do? Right? And if you're going to get a survey online. Get them to actually fill out a, survey on Facebook or whatever, whatever you're getting your referral source from. And then get them to actually have a physical review. So then when you're presenting it to your other buyers that you have all these reviews, they feel good that, oh my gosh, 100 and something people actually tell me that you're actually good and handwriting is not the same. More than likely, this is real, right? So instant credibility when you're trying to do a presentation. Listing presentation, same thing. When you actually meet up settlement, seller's happy, get them to actually fill out a review. Make sure you have that review as part of your process. And finally, throw a housewarming party. Every single buyer that you work with, that they're happy with you, make sure you throw a housewarming party for them. And if they don't want to throw a housewarming party, throw an anniversary party, throw a birthday party. I don't know. I don't really care what kind of party. Just throw a party for them, please. You know why? Because they would love if you pay for their food and their friends' food. That's why. I would. I mean, if someone offered me like, hey, on your wife's birthday party, I want to pay for everything. Oh, great. Thanks. Come on in. You want to pay for all the food? Okay, we'll order some food. So it's about $250 usually I budget for. I mean, you can budget for more or less, whatever. Doesn't matter. But even better yet, hey, why don't I organize the party? Give me all the names and numbers of the people you want to invite. I'll invite them for you. So you don't have to make the phone call. Of course, sometimes they'll say, maybe not. No, I'll do it myself. Or if they might say, like, you know what, I don't have time. Here's the list. Here's my phone book. I send you the whole phone book. Send it to you in an Excel spreadsheet. So then you can just upload it to your database. And then now you have 25, 30, 40 people in your database that wasn't there before, right? And you know what's so funny? People don't realize all those people, they already know you. Why did they know you? Because you know someone in common. And that person in common is happy about referring you to those people. So guess what? You increased your center of influence by 25, 30, 40 folds. Big difference. This is how I started in 2004 when I left my mentor. I left my mentor with the whole database intact and told him, it's like, I'm not going to touch any of the clients I ever worked with. I'm going to start new. That's what I did. But every settlement that I had, I threw a housewarming party, and my center of influence grew from 1, 2, 3 people to 25, 30, 40 people. And today I have over 600 people on my database that when I call them, they know me very well, and I know their kids. I know them very well. And I've had memories with them in some ways or another. Great memories. And those people are my referral source because they know that I care about them and they care about me. And they call me all the time. It's like, Mark, I got cousins trying to buy a house. I have a brother trying to buy a house. I got my mom, actually, we need to buy a house for her. I mean, I have even somebody in Texas that's actually wanting to buy a house for his mom here in Maryland. And what's interesting about that is people actually tell me, like, why would you call this person from Texas? They'll never refer you any business. Well, I know his family lives here. So guess what? If I'm in touch with him, I'm in touch with his whole family, right? So that's the whole point I'm trying to make. This is the problem. Everybody tells you to limit your activities. Why? Because a lot of us have what we call a crab mentality. So when we see people actually starting to succeed, we try to bring them down. Come back to earth. Come back to earth. Hang out with us so you'll never make any income. Have a full-time job, you know? No, don't do that. Be different. Makes a huge difference. Approach things differently. And that's the reason why sometimes when people tell me like 90% of new agents don't make it, well, because nobody gives them direction. I was not given any direction in my 4 years of my career. Zero direction. I was getting ready to quit. I sold one house a year if I was lucky. First 2 years sold nothing. Third year I sold one, and the fourth year I probably sold 2 or 3. And I sold 2 or 3 because I refer them out because I was getting ready to get out of the business. But the person I referred it out to became my mentor because I got fired from my job. And I had nothing else to do. I'm like, okay, I guess this is my default. I have nothing else to do. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, man, hey, I referred you 2 clients. Do you mind if I work for you? He's like, oh, I can't afford you. How much you make? I make 45 grand. Can't afford you. Okay, tell me how much you can afford. And he tells me like, I can pay you $10 an hour. I was like, okay, I'll take $10 an hour. Can I just request one thing? He's like, what is it? Well, I have my license. Can you just pay me 10% on anything that I work with, like any clients I work with? 10%. Okay, sure. Sure, come on in, start working with me. My first year, I made 75 grand working with him. On a $10 an hour, on a 10% commission split. So imagine how many transactions I had to go through on a 10% to make at least 50 something because my salary is 21, right? So maybe 54,000. To make 54,000 a commission on a 10%, I had to have sold at least 54 properties. Sold about 60 properties. Okay. Worked very hard for it. Could have made a lot more money, like most people are thinking that way. After my first year, it's like, oh, why are you still sticking around? You sold almost 60 houses last year. Why are you sticking around? I'm like, I don't know what I don't know. You see, the problem most of us have, as soon as you start making a little bit of money in this business, then you say, I'm going to go on my own, do my own thing. I already know. I sold 6 houses this year. I sold 10 houses this year. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to partner up with these guys. I'm going to be teaming up with these guys. What you don't realize is you don't know what you don't know. So guess what? Your income will always be on that level. But if you knew what I know, the most I ever made in 1 year in this business is $920,000. Talk about sky's the limit. In 1 month, $180,000. In 1 weekend, $90,000. As a matter of fact, on my last year as a mentee, which was I was a buyer's agent for 7 years with this mentor, he offered me a $200,000 salary. And I told him, no, thank you. Because I know I can make $300,000. And sure enough, I made $300,000 that year. And I would have stuck around because of $300,000 is not bad. But it's all perspective, right? Because I met this guy at a RE/MAX conference one day, and this guy actually is making $500,000. I said, congratulations, you made it to the chairman's club of RE/MAX. And he's like, I didn't get any award. I was like, really? It's like, yeah, I'm happy to be number 2. I was like, number 2? What do you mean number 2? Yeah, we're 7 of us making over $500,000 a year, working for the number 1 agent in the whole RE/MAX. I was like, really? How much the number 1 agent make? $7 million gross commission a year. $7 million gross commission. Wow. 4 o'clock in the morning, we're all sitting in a bar. I get to meet this guy who's, Las Vegas, of course. People drink. So I actually got a chance to really sit down with him. I told him, what's the secret? He said hiring. Hire the right people for the right position with the right attitude. That's what he did. And the people that work for him are happy to be number 2. They don't need to take over his position. Why? Because they don't know what they don't know. So imagine if you don't know what you don't know and you're making $500,000 a year, it's not a bad income, right? But the point I'm trying to make to you is you're working with buyers, okay? Some people actually snub it. It's like, oh, I'm going to only work with listings. I don't believe it. I work with people because I want them to achieve their goals, and in the process, it achieves mine. This is the way I look at this world. And that's the way you should look at this world. Because it helps you in the end. Because the way I was looking at the world when I was 25, I was wet in the ears. I was completely green, didn't know anything about business. Worked all my life. Since I was 12 years old, I started working. Had to actually change my work permit. It was supposed to be minimum 14 years old to work. I was like, okay, I'm 1970 now. I was born 1972, getting old. But yeah, put it to 0, the number 2 to 0, so I can start working when I was 12 years old. And I did. By the time I turned 18, I've promised myself, I'm out of the restaurant business. Never going back. I don't like physical labor. I like my mental labor better. And that's where you guys are. You guys have the ability to use your mind to make a ton of money. But if you use it for good and great things to help other people, your likelihood of success, bar none, all the way to the top. But if you are actually focused on money like the way I was when I was 25, 26 years old, no income comes in. Because I wasn't focused on the relationships. I wasn't focused on helping others. I was focused on helping me. Trying to do good for me. Big difference. So that's how I would put it. So when you're throwing a housewarming party, you can invite people, have that they know. So now it becomes your service. How do you gather their information? Throw a raffle. On each raffle, they have their name and phone number and email address. If they don't fill it out, they don't win. Simple as that. So they fill it out. They want to win a gift card. They want to win. But they're more than likely going to fill it out anyway because what? You have a built-in trust because the person that invited them is somebody that you sold house to and they're bragging about you. And they're telling them that you paid for the food. So why would they not actually trust that part? So they'll give you name, number, and phone number, and email address most of the time. So now all of a sudden your center of influence got bigger, right? This is the big idea. 5 ideas, right? Hopefully one of these things help. It's not I cannot beat the dead horse at this point. I mean, it's as simple as that, 5 ideas. So, well, anyway, for every listing that you sell, you should have 3 buyers from that listing. This is my general rule. Why? Because for every listing that takes longer to sell, you have opportunities to hold open houses on your own listing. You have opportunities to knock on doors on the listings that you have across the neighborhood. You have opportunities to market it in social media that you would get phone calls for leads for buyers. There's a lot of opportunities for every listing that you get. That's why when people tell me, I'm only going to focus on listings, they're looking at the top of the iceberg. The bottom of the iceberg is like 5-10 times bigger. Yep. Also work on the buyers. I'm sorry, I don't snob anybody. I even do rentals. People tell me like, oh my gosh, at your caliber, why are you doing rentals? I'm like, no, because I'm working with people. Because I care about people. That's my focus. It's not money. I enjoy what I do. I mean, I coach agents, I mentor agents, I help them actually grow their business. But the most important part, I make an impact in people's lives. Try doing that as an agent. I guarantee you, your success is much, much greater. One last part. Here's a quote from Mark Zuckerberg. People influence people. Nothing influences people more than a recommendation from a trusted friend. That's what you gotta be, a trusted friend. So easy. A trusted referral is the holy grail of advertising. That's what I call your buyers being what I call a walking billboard. That's what you want your buyers to be able to walk around and talk great about you. And then you got to teach them to get the person's name and phone number and send it to you so then you can call them. Call those people. Even if they're not ready, let's brainstorm. Why not? You see, guys, selling houses begins with an idea. That's what you got to think about. And anybody could be a buyer. It's a matter of how you create the vision. How good are you in telling stories? True stories, okay? I mean, some people come up and make up stories. Well, that's a completely different area that I'm not familiar with because I don't have to make up stories. Whatever I tell you is something that I've experienced personally. And it makes a huge difference when it's real. Why? Because if a person ever checks you, you can refer it to the real thing. True story. So tell true stories about your experiences. Tell true stories about... So if you don't have any transactions yet, some people are focused on the money and they're like, oh, I want 100% because I get 100% here and then 90% there. Everybody's offering 100%. Oh, great. How many have you sold? 0. Okay, great. You got 0 of 100%. But what if someone gives you an opportunity and only pays you 30%? But then now you have a story to tell that you actually sold a house, right? Even though you made little money, you got to start somewhere, right? It's all about putting something on your belt. And then from that, basically, you use that experience as confidence when you're talking to the buyers, when you're talking to sellers, because you have experience. That's the biggest problem a lot of agents have, including myself. The reason why I took a $21,000 a year salary and a 10% commission is because I wanted something on my belt so that my confidence level shoots up to the sky. So guess what? My potential is all the way to the stars. Now, if I land in the moon, at least I'm out of this world. That's the way I look at it. So I know you guys have goals, what you're trying to accomplish. Don't limit yourself with what you think real estate is all about. Try to keep an open mind in terms of what the possibilities are. There's a lot of possibilities of growth. Sky's the limit, but also understand something. It is a bottomless pit if you don't know how to work for yourself. So that's what I would leave it to.